Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, and welcome to the Sri Vidya Temple's class on chanting. We're currently doing a series of classes focusing on some of the pujas and homas that we do at the temple. And these pujas can be done in your own home, but we're going to be focusing on the way that we specifically chant them in the temple. So currently we are working through Ganapati Puja. Last time we finished through the mantras for Pushpam. So now we come to Dupam, Deepam, Naivedyam, and Karpuram. So I will start the Shruti and then we'll do Ganapati prayer and then we'll start. So if everyone can just mute themselves for now. Om Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Shashivarnan Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye. Okay, so who would like to repeat the lines? Anybody? Daniel? Okay. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay. So in the Dupam section, we'll just start from Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Dhupamagrapayami.
Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha Dhupamagrapayami.
Good.
Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha Dhupamagrapayami.
That's good. I can hear the Dhu Mahaprana there, and also the Gha Mahaprana. But just watch out for the first letter, the A, Agrapayami. You said it a little more like A. So it's an A, Dhupamagrapayami, and there's holding on the Gha. So it's Dhupamagrapayami. Okay? So we'll
Dhupamagrapayami.
Good. Okay, so this next one is tricky. So you picked a hard one. This is something in most of the texts that I've seen, this will not show the swara marks. It'll just be written without the swara marks, but it is Vedic. So I did some research and found it, and I've indicated the swara marks here. And another thing to note is that this line is actually much longer in the Vedas. It goes on, what I'm showing here is maybe only 1/4 of the full line. But you can also pause it at a shorter spot. So that's what we typically do in the temple. And something to notice is this dhu sound comes like 7 times just in this one short line. And also because it comes so many times, but it's a slightly different word, it becomes like a tongue twister. So this one is definitely challenging. It's going to take some practice, but we'll go through it now. Dhurasi dhurva.
Dhurasi dhurva. Dhurasi dhurva.
Good. So just try to focus on the dhu sound. So that comes dhurasi, then dhurva. Okay. Dhurasi dhurva.
Dhurasi dhurva. Dhurasi dhurva.
Good. Dhurvantam.
Dhurvantam. Dhurvantam.
Good. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam.
Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam.
Good. Dhurvatam.
Dhurvatam. Dhurvatam.
Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam dhurvatam.
Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam. Dhurvatam. Yes, go on.
Yes, second time.
Okay. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam. Dhurvatam.
Good. So for practicing purposes, I think with this one, it's fine to pronounce all anuswara as just an sound. Over time, once you're used to all the words, you can work on pronouncing anuswara in the traditional way. So instead of dhurvantam dhurva, it becomes dhurvantan dhurva. Okay. And then also when we have dhurvatam plus yosman, that will become dhurvatai yosman. Yosman. So because it's so tricky and new, I'm not going to focus as much on anuswara because the rest of it is hard enough.
Okay.
But I just want to point that out for everyone that over time you want to incorporate the traditional pronunciation of anuswara. Okay. All right, so let's try going on. Dhurvatai yosman.
Dhurvatai yosman. Dhurvatai yosman.
Good. And in yosman, there's dirgha with holding. Yo, and then the sma, there will be holding on the is. Yosman. Okay. Dhurvatitam.
Dhurvatitam. Dhurvatitam.
Dhurvayam.
Dhurvayam. Dhurvayam.
And then this yam in front of va is becoming a sort of a nasalized va. Yom vayam. Yom vayam. Dhurvayam vayam.
Dhurvayam vayam. Dhurvayam vayam.
Good. Dhurvamaha.
Dhurvamaha. Dhurvamaha.
Good. Let's go back to the beginning. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantan dhurvatam.
Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam dhurvatam. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam dhurvatam.
It's good, but the dhurvatam, you held the va just a slight bit longer than needed. Dhurvatam.
Dhurvatam. Dhurvatam.
Good. Okay. Let's start from tam yosman and try the second part of the line. Tayosman dhurvati tandhurvayam vayan dhurvamaha.
Tanyosman dhuvati tanturvayam vayam turvamaha.
One more time.
Tanyosman turvati tanturvayam vayam turvamaha.
Very good. Your swaras are very good. The only place I heard something wrong is in Yosman. It sounds like you went down on Sman. That should be flat. Yosman. Okay. So you can just note that, but very good with the swaras, especially if you're something that you're seeing pretty much for the first time. So now let's try the full line. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantan dhurvatayosman dhurvati tan dhurvayam vayan dhurvamaha.
Turasi turvaturvantam turvatam yosman turvatitam turvayam vayam turvamaha. Did I miss up? Is I supposed to put a pause halfway?
No, you're
Okay.
not. There's no pause in this one. So that was very good. Just do it one more time.
Turasi turvaturvantam turvatam yosman turvatitam turvayam vayam turvamaha.
That was very good. One thing was in Yosman, you pronounce it as Yosman. So that man is a dirgha. So make sure it's Yosman.
Gotcha.
Also, you can just sort of over time as you're practicing, clean up the anuswara. It was correct in some places, but a little different in others. But overall, very good, especially with the swaras. So what I'll do now is I'm going to chant this line 5 times by myself. So you can mute yourself now and everyone can just practice the line 5 times in a row. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantan dhurvatayosman dhurvati tan dhurvayam vayan dhurvamaha. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantan dhurvatayosman dhurvati tan dhurvayam vayan dhurvamaha. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantan dhurvatayosman dhurvati tan dhurvayam vayan dhurvamaha. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantan dhurvatayosman dhurvati tan dhurvayam vayan dhurvamaha. Dhurasi dhurva dhurvantan dhurvatayosman dhurvati tan dhurvayam vayan dhurvamaha. So you can hear this is a longer line and you have to breathe usually in the middle of it. So it also takes a little bit of practice to figure out where to breathe so you don't run out of breath at the end of the line. So this was also good practice for me, since I don't always actually chant this when I'm doing puja. Sometimes I do skip it. So maybe this is something that I'll start to chant more. So any questions on this line? Okay, looks like we're all good. So we'll go on to our Deepam. Would anyone like to chant the lines next? Charu auntie? Or are you, is it not as easy to do that where you are?
Yeah. I have the room.
Okay. All right. So before we do Deepam, let's just do the little line that comes after we do Dupam or Deepam or Karpuram. We usually offer one more Achamaniyam. So there's a little phrase that we use for that. Dhupanantarachamaniyam samarpayami.
Dhupanantara achamaniyam samarpayami. Dhupanandara achamaniyam samarpayami.
Good. So now Deepam. Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Deepam Darshayami.
Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha Deepam Darshayami. Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha Deepam Darshayami.
Good. So in Deepam, there's a lot of variation on what people typically chant. And there are Vedic mantras that can be chanted for this, just like some people use Veda mantras for all the upacharas. We tend to not do that. So for some of them, we'll use a certain Veda mantra. For others, there might be a shloka. Like this next one is in Anushtup Chandas, like a typical shloka. Some people during Deepam might chant Sarvamangala Mangalye. So there's different things that people do. But this is a common one that's often chanted. Ayurdehi dhanandehi.
Ayurdehi dhanandehi. Ayurdehi dhanandehi.
Good. Vidyan dehi maheshwari.
Vidyan dehi maheshwari. Vidyan dehi maheshwari.
Good. And notice the holding on Vidyan dehi and maheshwari. Maheshwari. Ayurdehi dhanandehi vidyandehi maheshwari.
Ayurdehi dhanandehi vidyandehi maheshwari. Ayurdehi dhanandehi vidyandehi maheshwari.
Good. And notice how the dehi ends in a hrasva hi. So people might be a little tempted to pronounce it like dehi, or to pause in the middle of the line, like dehi, vidyan, but there's no pause there. Dehi, the hi is hrasva, and you chant the line continuously. Let's do the next line. Samastamakhilandehi.
Samastamakilandehi. Samastamakilandehi.
Good. Makhilam, ki is Mahaprana. Makhilam. Dehi me parameshwari.
Dehi me parameshwari. Dehi me parameshwari.
Good. Samastamakhilan dehi me parameshwari.
Samastamakhilan dehi me parameshwari. Samastamakhilan dehi me parameshwari.
Good. So this is a really nice prayer requesting from Devi, from Deepa Devi, the long life, abundance, vidya, good knowledge. So it's a very auspicious prayer. And then at the end, when we offer Achamaniyam, Deepanantaramaniyam samarpayami.
Deepanandaran achamaniyam samarpayami. Deepanandaran achamaniyam samarpayami.
Good. Okay, so for Naivedyam, let's see who else wants to repeat the lines. Rupa Amma. Okay. All right. So for Naivedyam, we did go over Gayatri mantra earlier in the Purvangam, but we'll do it one more time here as well. Om Bhurbhuvassuvah.
Om Bhurbhuvassuvaha. Om Bhurbhuvassuvaha.
Good. The second time I could hear the Mahapranas more clearly. Bhu, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha. So it's 2 times of Bhu Mahaprana. Tatsaviturvarenyam.
Tatsavidurvarenyam. Tatsavidurvarenyam.
Good. So look at the word savitur. The sa goes up, and then the V immediately goes to the down. Savitur, savitur. When you chanted, it sounded like savitur was all the middle note. So just note the swaras in savitur. Also in varenyam, make sure there's holding on the na sound. Varenyam.
Can I repeat?
Yeah, I'll do it one more time and then you do it 2 times. Tatsaviturvarenyam.
Tatsavidurvarenyam. Tatsavidurvarenyam.
That's good. Sometimes when we're chanting, we know what the swaras are, but it may be a little bit challenging to actually pronounce them. Maybe some words, our vocal cords are not as used to going up and down with those particular words. So I could hear that you were chanting them, but it wasn't totally pronounced. So that's something you can just practice a little bit more and even slow it down. Like, so one thing people can do if they're working on swaras is, if there's any tricky word, just slow it down as much as possible and really feel yourself and hear yourself pronouncing that particular swara. So in that word, if I were practicing that just for the swaras, I might chant it like sa vi tur sa vi tur, where I'm just emphasizing only singing that particular note with that akshara. So that's something that helps your vocal cords and helps your learning. And then of course, once you start to speed it up, you observe all of the matras and everything like that.
Yes.
Okay. So that's just one suggestion for people. That's for everyone. Okay, so we'll go on. Bhargo devasya dhimahi.
Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Bhargo devasya dhimahi.
Good. So there I could hear the swaras clearly. I heard you pronouncing bha, mahaprana in bhargo. Also, just watch out for the mahaprana dhi in dhimahi. So let's do the whole line. Tatsaviturvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi.
Tatsavidurvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi. Tatsavidurvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi.
Good. The second time was very good. You corrected some of the swaras that went wrong in the first time. So that was very, very close. And again, to be able to pronounce all of the mahapranas in the correct place in the line takes practice. It doesn't come right away. So there may be, this always needs just a little bit of practice. So the mahapranas come out in the right places. But very good. Let's do the next part. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat.
Dhiyo yo naf prachodayad. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayad.
The first part of the line was very good, but in prachodayat, notice the pra is flat, the middle note, then cho goes down, da comes back to middle, and then yat is the dirgha swarita where it starts middle and goes up. So let's just do that one word. Prachodayat.
Prajodayad. Prajodayad.
That's it. That's it exactly. Let's try to do the full part. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat.
Dhiyo yo naf prajodayad. Dhiyo yo naf prajodayad.
Good, very good. And everyone notice that in the word naha, because it comes in front of pra, that P sound, we pronounce it like if. Naf pracho, naf pracho. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. The next one, this line is not, I've not found it anywhere in the Vedas, so I didn't put any swara marks on it. So this line, you have some flexibility in terms of swaras. Paro rajase savadom.
Paro rajase savadom. Paro rajase savadom.
Paro rajase savadom.
Paro rajase savadom. Paro rajase savadom.
Good. And now the final part. Om abojyoti.
Om abojyoti. Om abojyoti.
So here, notice the holding after dirgha. Apojyoti. Apojyoti. Okay. Rasomritam.
Rasomridam. Rasomridam.
Brahma bhurvasuvaram.
Brahma bhurvasuvaram. Brahma Brahma Bhuvasuvarom.
Good. Swaras are good. In the word Brahma, notice this is one of the words that, even though it's written as HM, we pronounce it as MH. Brahma. So there's holding, Brahma. Also, you want to make sure there's a clear ha, and you're not saying it like Brahma or Brahma. And there should be a clear ha at the end. Brahma. Okay. And then also watch out for the Mahapranas, Bhu in Bhur Bhuvas. Okay, so you can watch out for those. Let's try starting from the beginning of Apo. Om Apo Jyotira Somritam.
Om Abo Jyodhirasom. Om Abo Jyodhirasom.
So we can, let's see. Let's do it one more time. And we'll chant the full Amritam part. Om Apo Jyotira Somritam.
Om Abo Jyodhirasomridham. Om Abo Jyodhirasomridham.
That's it. So this one, it's interesting. There's no upper swara in the entire line. It's all down, and then there's sort of this just back and forth with the notes. So it's a little unusual. Let's try the second part again. Brahma bhur bhuvasuvaram.
Brahma bhur bhuvasuvaram. Brahma bhur bhuvasuvaram.
Good. Swaras are very good. Let's try the full line now. Om Apo Jyotira Somritam Brahma Bhur Bhuvasuvaram.
Om Abo Jyodhirasomridham Brahma Bhur bhuvasuvaram. Om Abo Jyodhirasomridham Brahma Bhur bhuvasuvaram.
It's very good. So still watch out for in Apo Jyoti, the T at the end is Dirgha. You are pronouncing it a little more like Rasva. So that is a Dirgha, so watch out there. And then also just focus on the holding on Apoj, Apoj, okay? But otherwise very good. So what I'm going to do, so you can go ahead and mute yourself. I'm going to chant the full Gayatri mantra 3 times in a row, and everyone can practice chanting along. Om Bhurбhuvasuvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Paro Rajase Savadom Om Apo Jyotira Somritam Brahma Bhur Bhuvasuvaram. Om Bhur Bhuvasuvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Paro Rajase Savadom Om Apo jyotirasomritam brahma bhurbhuvassuvarom. Om bhurbhuvassuvaha tatsaviturvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yo prachodayat. Paro rajase savadom. Om apojyotirasomritam brahma bhurbhuvas suvaro. Okay, any questions on the pronunciation of Gayatri Mantra? Okay, so this is something, go ahead.
Srimatre Nama. Parora Jase Sabadom. It's all flat. There's no, because I keep hearing Savadom.
Yes, exactly. Good ear. So this is something that it's kind of like a secret part of Gayatri Mantra. So it's never been written. So I'm not saying it's not Vedic. I'm just saying I have not seen it written anywhere in the Vedas. So I don't, and it's not typically chanted out loud. So I have no way to verify whether there are any specific swaras for this. The only place where I've seen this line mentioned is either in an Upanishad or some kind of Sri Vidya book or article. So it may be something that's a little bit more of a Sri Vidya tradition for Gayatri Mantra. So that's why I didn't note any specific swaras, because, and I know that's confusing in the middle of a Vedic mantra where the rest of it does have swaras. So that's why I just wanted to explain, you can chant it totally like all in the middle note. But typically when I'm chanting, I pronounce it as Savadom. So it's just sort of a habit that I have, but I just wanted to explain that there's flexibility that you have in this particular line, because I'm not aware of it being noted anywhere in the Vedas with specific swaras.
Very clear.
Okay, good. I know that's a tricky one. But this mantra is so beautiful and soothing and extremely powerful for doing meditation or japam. We tend to only chant this for Naivedyam because that's the tradition for, Orthodox people and traditional people. If they're about to eat, they'll chant Gayatri Mantra to offer thanks and also purify the food. But it's a very beautiful mantra also to use in meditation or japam. Okay, so to continue on, would anyone else like to repeat the lines? Shirisha Amma? Okay. All right, so we'll continue on with the Naivedyam. Deva Savita Prasuva.
Deva Savita Prasuva. Deva Savita Prasuva.
Good. And here notice the visarga is savitaf, like a if sound, savitaf prasuva. Next. Satyantvartena parishinchami.
Satyam Tvartena Parishinchami. Satyam Tvartena Parishinchami.
Good. So this is what we chant if we're doing puja in the morning. If we happen to be doing puja in the evening, like after 12 p.m., then we chant this next part, which just switches the order of Satyam or Rutam. So that would be Rutantva Satyena Parishinchami.
Rutam Tva Satyena Parishinchami. Rutam Tva सत्येन परिषिञ्चामि
Good. Amrutamastu.
अमृतमस्तु अमृतमस्तु
Amrutopastaranamasi.
अमृतोपस्तरनमसि अमृतोपस्तरनमसि.
Good. So now we'll imagine that we're doing puja in the morning, and I'll chant the full way that we would chant it for the morning session. Deva savitah prasuva satyantvartena parishinchami amrutamastu amrutopastaranamasi.
देवसवितः प्रसुवा सत्यं त्वत्तेन परिषिञ्चामि अमृतमस्तु अमृतोपस्तरनमसि. देवसवितः प्रसुवा सत्यं त्वत्तेन परिषिञ्चामि अमृतमस्तु अमृतोपस्तरनमसि.
Good. So next we come to the 5 pranas that we're offering. And I've heard this, there's kind of 2 traditions. So it's, people can do as they like. I've heard one way. Pranaya svaha, apanaya svaha. So I've heard that style. And I've also heard the style. Pranaya svaha, apanaya svaha. So in different traditions, they'll have slightly different ways of chanting this because the swaha, even though there's no swaras marked, it's similar to the concept of the swaha in a homam, where you're offering something into the homam. So here you're offering the 5 energies to God. So it's kind of like eating is also like a yajna in a sense. So let's practice these. Om pranaya svaha.
Om pranaya svaha. Om pranaya svaha.
Om apanaya svaha.
Om apanaya svaha. Om apanaya svaha.
Om vyanaya svaha.
Om vyanaya svaha. Om vyanaya svaha.
Om udanaya svaha.
Om udanaya svaha. Om udanaya svaha.
Om samanaya svaha.
Om samanaya svaha. Om samanaya svaha.
Om brahmane svaha.
Om brahmane svaha. Om brahmane svaha.
Good. And here again, notice the brahmane, brahmane. It's the same HM, so we pronounce it as the MH. Okay, so we can go on now. Madhye madhye amrutapaniyam samarpayami.
Madhye madhye amrutapaniyam samarpayami. Madhye madhye amrutapaniyam samarpayami.
Good. Amrutapidhanamasi.
Amrutapidhanamasi. Amrutapidhanamasi.
Uttara poshanam samarpayami.
Uttara poshanam samarpayami. उत्तरापोषणं समर्पयामि
हस्तौ प्रक्षालयामि
हस्तौ प्रक्षालयामि हस्तौ प्रक्षालयामि
पादौ प्रक्षालयामि
पादौ प्रक्षालयामि पादौ प्रक्षालयामि
गण्डूषम् आचमनीयं च समर्पयामि नमः
गण्डूषम् आचमनीयं च समर्पयामि नमः गण्डूषम् आचमनीयं च समर्पयामि नमः
Very good. So does anyone have any questions on Naivedya mantras?
I have a question, Amma.
Okay.
In the Satyam Tvartena Parishinchami, I usually chant it as Satyam Tvartena Parishinchayami. Is that Parishinchami or Parishinchayami?
I think there might be, I think they might be two synonyms. I have heard both versions. I think both might be sort of grammatically correct. I'd have to check, but I have seen both.
Okay.
So I'll try to find out if one of them is maybe more grammatically accurate than the other.
Okay.
And I'll let you know.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to Karpura Nirajanam, would anyone like to recite the lines?
I can try, Ekta.
Hi, Chaitna Amma.
Hi, Amma.
Very good. Okay, so we'll do Karpura Nirajanam. Okay. Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Ananda Karpura Nirajana Deepan Darshayami.
Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Ananda Karpura Nirajana Deepam Darshayami. Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Ananda Karpura Nirajana Deepam Darshayami.
Good. So now we come to a very common Veda mantra that we chant very commonly during the Karpura Arati. And normally in the temple, at this point, there will be bells ringing and Nadaswaram playing, and it becomes really impossible to hear swaras or almost to hear ourselves at that time. Because there's so much going on. So it's always good to focus on something like this with the swaras so that we can know what they are. Okay. Rajadhirajaya.
Rajadhirajaya. Rajadhirajaya.
Good. Prasahya sahine.
Prasahya sahine. Prasahya sahine.
Very good. I was able to hear the holding on ich in prasahya. This is one of the most challenging kinds of combinations to pronounce whenever there's ha kara combined with another sound, because holding on ha is extremely difficult and it definitely takes a lot of practice. But that was very good. Rajadhirajaya prasahya sahine.
Rajadhirajaya prasahya sahine. Rajadhirajaya prasahya sahine.
Good. And I was also able to hear the Dhi Mahaprana in Rajadhi. Okay, next line. Namo Vayam Vai
Namo Vayam Vai. Namo Vayam Vai.
Good. And notice the Anuswara pronunciation before Vai becomes like all, like Vayam Vai. Okay. Shravarnaya Kurmahe.
Shravanaya Kurmahe. Shravanaya Kurmahe.
Good. Namo Vayam Vai Shravarnaya Kurmahe.
Namo Vayam Vai Shravanaya Kurmahe. Namo Vayam Vai Shravanaya. Namo Vayam Vai Shravanaya Kurmahe.
Good. I think you caught the holding after dirgha. So not only is it holding after dirgha, but that dirgha has a dirgha swarita. So it's even longer than a regular dirgha. So that's a little bit tricky, but there is holding on the ish. Vaishrava. Vaishrava. Okay, so don't forget the holding there.
Can I try that again?
Sure.
Namo Vayam Vai Shravanaya Kurmahe. Namo Vayam Vai Shravanaya Kurmahe.
Very good. Okay, next line. Samekaman.
Samekaman. Samekaman.
Kama kama yamahyam.
Kama Kama Yahmahyam. Kama Kama Yahmahyam.
So it was good, but it sounded a little bit like you were saying kama yah. There's no, it's just kamaya. Kamaya. Kamaya mahyam.
Kama Kama Yahmahyam.
That's it.
Okay, get it.
Now I'll do the whole line. Same kaman kama kama yamahyam.
Same Kaman Kama Kama Yahmahyam. Same Kaman Kama Kama Yahmahyam.
Good. Kameshvaro vai.
Kameshvaro vai. Kameshvaro vai.
Very close. Just notice Kameshvaro. Kameshva are all lower swara. Then Ro is middle. Kameshvaro.
Kameshvaro. Kameshvaro.
That's it. Kameshvaro vai Shravarno dadatu.
Kameshvaro vai Shravano dadatu. Kameshvaro vai Shravano dadatu.
Everything is good except for that Ro. It's going back down. So just
I'll try again.
sure.
Kameshvaro vai Shravano dadatu. How was that?
Still going down. So one thing that's good to do, because a lot of the time when we're chanting and we're focused on the chanting part, there isn't enough brain cells left to also hear ourselves and listen, because it's so challenging. So that's where, like, when you think that you've really gotten it down, make a recording of yourself and then listen to it while looking at the notes or looking at the document. And that's really the only time that you really can listen properly, because when you're chanting, that's when your mind is really focused on something else. And it's very hard to also listen to yourself at the same time. It is important to develop that skill so that you can catch yourself when you're making a mistake and correct it. And this is for everyone, not for you. But I always recommend, you'll hear when you make a recording of yourself and you listen, you'll be kind of amazed at what you hear that you might not have been aware of that you were doing when you were chanting. So that's always a good thing. So let's just try Kameshwaro by itself, and then we'll move on. Kameshwaro,
Kameshwaro, Kameshwaro.
That's exactly it. So when you're practicing, try to isolate that and then practice that line a little bit more, since it's a little more tricky. So each one of us will have a different line that's tricky for us. So whatever that line is, that's what we want to practice more on when we're practicing by ourselves. All right, let's finish it up. Kuberaya Vaishravarnaya.
Kuberaya Vaishravanaya. Kuberaya Vaishravanaya.
Good. Maharajaya Namaha.
Maharajaya Namaha. Maharajaya Namaha.
That's it. Kuberaya Vaishravarnaya Maharajaya Namaha.
Kuberaya Vaishravanaya Maharajaya Namaha. Kuberaya Vaishravanaya Maharajaya Namaha.
The first part is very good. The second part, you've changed the swaras. Instead of going down, you're doing the middle. And so this is very commonly something that you'll hear people doing when they chant, if they're not following the swaras very carefully. But the accurate swaras, the Maha and Ra are down. Ja is middle. Ya goes back down. So it's a lot of, so from Vaishravanaya, the Ya goes up and then immediately you come back down. So it's a tricky part. People often miss that, but it's definitely there. So I'll do the line one more time and you do one more time and see if you can get the Maharajaya. Kuberaya Vaishravarnaya Maharajaya Namaha.
Kuberaya Vaishravanaya Maharajaya Namaha.
Okay, that was still middle. So this is why it's definitely tricky when we're learning Vedas, and very good to record ourselves and then listen closely. So I think what I'll do now is you can go ahead and mute yourself, and I'll chant this full mantra by myself 2 times. Rajadhirajaya prasahya sahine Namo vayam vai ishravarnaya kurmahe Same kaman kama kama yamahyam Kameshvaro vai Ishravarno dadatu Kuberaya Vaishravarnaya Maharajaya Namaha Rajadhirajaya Prasahya Sahine Namo Vayam Vai Ishravarnaya Kurmahe Same Kaman Kama Kama Yamahyam Kameshvaro Vai Ishravarno Dadatu Kuberaya Vaishravarnaya Maharajaya Namaha. Okay, so I think we'll stop there since it's been an hour. So Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.